This is Newsflash. Hello everyone, welcome to today's Newsflash. My name is Spencer Walsh. Thank you so much for joining us here today on the show. Huge, major news from Washington, where the Senate has voted to end their support and the U.S. support for the Saudi Arabian devastating war in Yemen that has killed thousands upon thousands of civilians, including kids in a school bus going on a field trip. Also, a big repudiation of Jared and Ivanka inside the faction battles going on to find out the next chief of staff in the Trump White House at the moment, and who Trump is eyeing, and it's not something that Jared and Ivanka will like to hear. The Washington Post is telling Democrats that caving to fascism is no big deal. Elizabeth Warren, is she a viable candidate for president? We also have a lot more stories to go. We got Jonathan Chait, his hot take on the picket line in the New York Magazine, or the unionization of the New York Magazine. Progressives get a big internal win in the House, and Trump rants and raves on Fox and Friends. All right, that's our lineup for today. A little awkward. The music ran out like halfway through. I don't think that's ever happened before. But before I do anything, I want to talk about our winter lineup. So I'm going to update some of the things that have been changed. So let's do it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, in case you did not know, we have decided to make some changes. I killed off the scoop, but I did put the first episode we did with the scoop with James Stanley, a little treat for you as a bonus. Over this past weekend, we have a December 16th is a new episode of Global, and we are working on possibly producing a morning news briefing show, supplementing Newsflash from our SWR News division here that we're kind of trying to form. And of course, we've got a great culture, politics, news, and sports show in for the win. It's going to be everything. It's going to be a great show. It's going to be coming out in the new year, and we'll give you obviously later details on that news briefing show that we mentioned. It's gonna the idea is 10 minutes weekday morning supplementing Newsflash, because Monday and Thursday is a big gap, and I really experienced this week with the whole idea of Brexit happening, the whole Brexit drama happening, so much that's not in the news anymore that I want to talk about. That was in the news yesterday, and it's totally out of bounds now to talk about. So it's just old news. So yeah, we're gonna have to obviously be contending with that. And so that's why I wanted to kind of create this brief show to get you presented. I'm thinking we call it the wake-up call or something like that. The wake-up call. So if you hear an ad for that here on the Spencer Walsh Radio Network, you will know that the wake-up call is going to be coming soon. It's going to be pretty much 10, 15-minute brief show. Get you prepared for what you need to know in the day, so you can come into the day informed when you read the news, explainers, things quick. It's going to be pretty good. I think you guys will like it. So yeah. Also, finally, today in Washington, the Senate voted on Thursday to end American military assistance for Saudi Arabia's war in Yemen in the strongest show of bipartisan defiance against President Donald Trump's defense of the kingdom over killing a dissident journalist, Jamal Khashoggi. So, round of applause to the Senate, who is really surprising with their vote on the criminal justice reform bill that we saw in this past House. And of course, we have this incredible piece of news being handed down. No more U.S. support for the war in Yemen. Huge deal. Another big round of applause. A 56-41 vote that, people in large part did for the wrong reasons, just because of Jamal Khashoggi, and they would not have supported it if it hadn't been for the tragic murdering of Jamal Khashoggi. But there are a lot of Democrats and even some Republicans who want to actually end the war in Yemen before that, because it was devastating, it was awful, it was disgusting what Saudi Arabia is doing to those Yemeni people, killing them, killing civilians, killing 56 civilians at one time in a bombing of a school bus. I think that was one of the titles of our show at one point back in the summer, but I'm gonna have to look that back up. It was Saudi Arabia. The headline. It was literally the headline: Saudi Arabia actually just bombed a school bus. It's what they did, and it's highly disturbing that we supported them for so long. And this was back in the summer, and so I do want to get back to that. But the fact that this is over, this idea is a huge win. 44 kids, sorry, not 58. U.S. supported the disgusting war in Yemen kills 44 kids, August 16th. And it's very weird to have this happening, that finally, somehow, some way, we can possibly get over this and get past this situation and actually get a win for decency and humanity on the side. It's a huge deal, and it's not something you see very often, that this is going to be stopping. And it was also really, for many of the senators, though, unfortunately, it was a message of disapproval, not towards the this 4-year conflict that has killed thousands of civilians and brought famine to Yemen, but it's more of a middle finger to President Trump. But for some, I think it was both. Some, it was the war more than others, and some, it was Trump more than others. So it's a very mixed reasons why they did this. They all have different interests, which is, again, so unfortunate to know that in the back of your mind. But this being ended is a huge help. And the fact that the United States doesn't support Saudi Arabia in this venture anymore is huge. Huge. It's not anything that Donald Trump would like to have seen, but the fact that they stopped this is amazingly good. Moments later, though, senators unanimously approved a separate resolution to hold Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia personally responsible for the death of the journalist Jamal Khashoggi. They are pissed in the last few weeks of their session. Together, again, the votes were an extraordinary break with Trump, who has refused to condemn the prince and dismiss the United States intelligence agency's conclusions that the heir to the Saudi throne directed the grisly killing. And, of course, we know he did. He's like crazy guy. And he knew the fact that Trump, of all people, probably the only president in existence that would let Saudi Arabia get away with this. Very, very few that I can think of would let Saudi Arabia get away with this. I think it's unconscionable what he did. And this is, again, it's a direct violation of our trust. And it's very, very disturbing. So, yeah. Now that we know that, the action indicated a growing sense of urgency among lawmakers in both parties to punish Saudi Arabia for Khashoggi's death and to question the tradition in Washington of averting its gaze from the kingdom's human rights abuses in the interest of preserving a strategically important relationship. How many times have you heard that since this past October? How many times have you heard for the past 2 months when you have to deal with the Khashoggi killing, more bad news in Yemen, and it is, again, the worst humanitarian crisis. There are kids dying left and right. How are we still supporting this war for so long? It is it's not a left-right issue. It's not a left-right issue. It is an issue of humanity. It's a right-wrong issue is really what it is. And there is a clear right and a clear wrong in this situation. Personally, I would have gone farther. I would have cut ties completely if they didn't stop bombing Yemen at once, because this is, again, it's ridiculous. But then we're like, oh, we're letting Iran win. Wow. But no, this is, again, we're not allied with Iran, and we are not allied with people, we shouldn't be allied with people who are, or allied with people, I guess I could say, who are killing kids left and right on a day-to-day basis. Now, we're not helping them kill kids on a day-to-day basis, but we are still allied with them to a huge degree, and I think that could be a next step in helping this situation some degree. What the Khashoggi event did, I think, was focused on the fact that we have been led into a civil war in Yemen, half a world away, in a conflict which few Americans that I know can articulate what American national security interest is at stake, and we've done so following the lead of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. That's from Senator Mike Lee of Utah. First air horn of applause I will ever give Senator Mike Lee of Utah, because he is someone who I do agree with pretty much everything, but this is one of the few things I do agree with him on. Yeah, the resolution was written by Mr. Mike Lee and Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont. It was an unusual invocation of the War Powers Act, a 1973 law by which Congress sought at the end of the Vietnam War to assert its constitutional role in deciding when the United States should go to war. It's pretty much been trampled on by the national security apparatus in this country over the past, 17 years. So that is unfortunate, but this, good job. A huge round of applause. Showering praise today on Bernie Sanders and Mike Lee for getting this passed, getting this done, and getting this stopped. Bernie racking up wins after wins, so actually getting stuff done. And I don't see Cory Booker, again, he's not leading the charge on this. Kamala Harris, what's she doing? She's going to Iowa. Her head is out the window and thinking about running for president. This is what Bernie can do is saying, well, you guys have been attending your women's marches. I've been in the halls of power. I've been actually doing things that help us, despite what the mainstream media would have you leave. I think he has a very, very, very powerful case to make. And if he does run, I think I would be thrilled to see him campaign on that front, because I think it's really, really cool. So Sanders called it the first time Congress has used law to make clear the constitutional responsibility for making war rests with the United States Congress, not the White House. Today, we will tell the despotic regime in Saudi Arabia when being not part of their military adventurism, he said. 7 Republican senators joined Democrats to pass the resolution, and I'm going to give a round of applause too. Get ready for it. We have Mr. Lee, Susan Collins of Maine, Steve Daines of Montana, Jeff Flake, Jerry Moran, Rand Paul, and Todd Young. So Susan Collins, Steve Daines, Jeff Flake, Jerry Moran, Rand Paul, Todd Young. And I was the libertarian kind of people and the moderates of the caucus. So, all the Democrats there did support it, not surprising. With both votes, senators diverged sharply from Trump, who has maintained his steadfast support again for Saudi Arabia. Pretty much been taking it from Saudi Arabia over the past few just pretty much his entire presidency, been pretty much trampled on. Saudi Arabia has been hilariously manipulating Jared. I don't know the right word. I don't know if cuck's the right word, but they have Jared under their control completely. If you read the story that was in the New York Times, it said that even after the Khashoggi killing, Jared served as Saudi Jared, MBS. That's what I'm calling MBS, Saudi Jared, in response. And shout out to Felix Peterman there for that. So in response to that, I am saying that, it was pretty much completely under his control. I mean, Jared Kushner was telling MBS, how to weather the storm, what they can do to, calm things down, how to, assuage the critics, and all that stuff. Literally, probably one of the biggest help, probably the biggest boost we've ever seen, we've really ever seen from anyone at that point in time. It was a very big. So anyway, all this is flurrying around, and we don't know whether to, Trump has pretty much been, again, Kushner's been incredibly supportive of MBS. Trump has been incredibly supportive of MBS, saying, "Oh yeah, we bought so many weapons for them," but none of the weapons ever really materialized. And it was, again, just a complete mess, a complete embarrassment from Donald Trump again on this entire thing. Senator Bob Corker, the Tennessee Republican who heads the Foreign Relations Committee and sponsored the measure condemning the Crown Prince, said on Thursday that it was vital that the Senate is speaking with one voice to hold him accountable. Unanimously, the United States Senate has said that Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is responsible for the murder of Jamal Khashoggi. That is a strong statement. I think it speaks to the values we hold dear. The senators in both parties described the twin measures as a direct response to the refusal by Trump and his administration to hold Saudi Arabia accountable. So again, I guess someone has to do it. So it's very, very, very important. We cannot sweep under the rug the callous disregard for human life and the flagrant violation of international norms that the Saudis are showing. Again, that's another good point. It's not just about sticking it to Trump here. It's very much just not about that. It's about getting out of it. It's sticking about Trump is 5% of it. 95% of it is getting out of this awful humanitarian catastrophe that we've seen in Yemen. Just some awful, just some of the pictures are popping up here on my computer. It's just absolutely horrific that this happened in any shape, way, or form. And you obviously absolutely are horrified by it, and very rare that we can really, it's very rare that we can really, be happy with the Senate and be happy with our government or something, and I think this is it. So, it'll be interesting to see how the Trump administration, again, responds to this. This is the thing that you really got to watch for on that. All right, we are now continuing to the next big story, the palace intrigue going on in the West Wing as the intrafactional warfare here continues. Gabriel Sherman here has the story of when Donald Trump summoned John Kelly to the White House on Friday to give him his walking papers during a meeting with Nick Ayers and Mike Pence. It appeared that Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump had notched a major victory. For weeks, Sherman explains, Kushner and Ivanka had been lobbying the president to replace Kelly